He said my baby wasn't his. Then his father exposed the lie.
A first-person fictional revenge story for one female narrator. The moment my husband walked into his father's living room and saw our newborn son in the old man's arms, the blue gift bag slipped from his hand. He stared at the baby. Then he stared at me. His father, Arthur, did not stand up. He simply held little Noah closer and said, "You are late, Ryan. The truth arrived before you did." Ryan had no idea that the next 5 minutes would cost him his marriage, his job, and the family company he had planned to steal. 3 weeks earlier, I still believed I was bringing my baby into a safe home. My name is Claire Morgan. I was 32 years old, 8 months pregnant, and living with my husband in a quiet neighborhood outside Charlotte, North Carolina. Ryan and I had been married for 5 years. To everyone else, he was charming and loyal. He was the future president of Morgan Home Medical, the company his father had built from one small warehouse. At home, he had changed. He stayed late at the office. He turned his phone face down. He started asking strange questions about our marriage agreement and the 12% of company shares Arthur had given me after I saved a major hospital contract. I had earned those shares. For 6 years, I managed supplier agreements and kept the company out of lawsuits. Arthur trusted me because I checked every number twice. Ryan used to say that was what he loved about me. Then one Friday night, he came home holding a white envelope. He did not ask how I felt. He did not touch my stomach. He put the envelope on the kitchen counter and told me to open it. Inside was a laboratory report. It said a prenatal DNA test had excluded Ryan as the father of my baby. For several seconds, I could not understand the words. The claim was impossible. I had never cheated on Ryan. Not once. There was no other possible father. Ryan did not look heartbroken. That was the first thing that frightened me. He looked prepared. He said he wanted a quiet divorce. He said, if I signed a statement admitting infidelity, he would let me keep my car and give me 6 months in the house. In return, I had to surrender my company shares and promise not to challenge him for anything else. The agreement was already printed. Yellow tabs showed me where to sign. That was when my fear became suspicion. A devastated husband might shout. He might cry. He might demand answers. Ryan had brought a pen. I told him I needed time. He warned me that if I refused, he would show the report to the board, our friends, and everyone at church. Then he went upstairs and slept in the guest room. I sat alone in the kitchen until 2 in the morning. At first, I wanted to call my mother. Then I wanted to tear the report apart. Instead, I did what I always did when something felt wrong. I checked the details. The report listed an apartment address I had not used in 4 years. I had never visited the laboratory named on the page. The sample date was a Tuesday, when I had spent the afternoon at my obstetrician's office with Ryan beside me. Most important, the report had no doctor's authorization number. The next morning, I called the laboratory. I gave them the number printed at the top of the page. The woman who answered became very careful with her words. She said, the number did not match any patient record. She could not confirm that the report had come from them. I asked her to email that statement. She did. I did not confront Ryan. I photographed every page, put the originals back in the envelope, and called Denise Carter, an attorney I knew from a hospital contract negotiation. Denise listened without interrupting. Then she told me not to sign anything and not to use our shared computer. She also asked a question that changed the entire story. Why does he need your shares now? I did not know, but I decided to find out. On Monday, I went to the office as if nothing had happened. Ryan avoided me. His assistant looked nervous when I passed. Arthur was in Chicago meeting a distributor. So Ryan was temporarily running the executive meetings. I opened the quarterly supplier files that I was authorized to review. 3 payments caught my attention. Each payment was just under the amount that required Arthur's approval. All 3 had gone to a consulting company called Blue Ridge Strategy. I had never heard of it. The address belonged to a private mailbox store. The invoices used vague phrases like market development and acquisition support. Together, the payments totaled more than $400,000. I checked older records and found 11 more payments. My hands began to shake. Ryan was not only trying to leave me, he was trying to remove the one shareholder who reviewed contracts closely enough to find what he had done. Denise brought in a forensic accountant named Marcus Lee. Using records I was authorized to access, he found that Blue Ridge Strategy belonged to Ryan's college roommate. Money had moved from the company into a real estate project in Ryan's name. Ryan had gambled company money on a luxury development near Lake Norman. The project was failing. A loan payment was due in less than a month. If Ryan became company president, he could hide the loss longer. But Arthur still controlled the board, and I still owned enough voting shares to block an emergency sale Ryan was planning. The false DNA report was never about jealousy. It was about control. Then the second betrayal arrived. Denise learned that Ryan had already sent a copy of the fake report to Arthur. He had included a message saying I had deceived the family and should be removed from the company before the baby was born. Arthur did not call me. For one terrible day, I believed he had chosen his son. That evening, I started having contractions. I was only 30, 6 weeks pregnant. I called Ryan twice. Both calls went to voicemail. I sent him one message saying I was going to the hospital. He replied 10 minutes later. He said the child was not his problem. I read that sentence while Denise drove me through the rain to the hospital. I did not cry. I saved a screenshot and turned off my phone. Noah was born just after midnight. He was small but healthy, with dark hair and a serious little face. When the nurse placed him against my chest, every ugly thing Ryan had done became quiet for a moment. My son did not know about company shares, forged reports, or family names. He only knew my heartbeat. 3 hours later, Arthur walked into my hospital room. He looked older than he had the week before. He carried no flowers. He sat beside my bed and apologized. He said Ryan's message had bothered him from the beginning. Arthur knew how careful I was. He also knew his son had recently pressured him to retire and approve a rushed sale of one division of the company. So Arthur had checked the laboratory report himself. He discovered the same problems I had found. His investigator also learned that the document was created on Ryan's office laptop and sent to a print shop by Ryan's assistant. Arthur asked if he could hold Noah. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to keep every member of that family far away from my baby. But Arthur was not asking for forgiveness he had not earned. He was asking for a chance to do the right thing. I placed Noah in his arms. Arthur looked down at him and began to cry. He told me Ryan had not always been cruel. After Ryan's mother died, Arthur had protected him from every consequence. He had paid debts, fixed mistakes, and called it love. Now he understood that protection without accountability had turned his son into a man who believed other people existed to rescue him. Arthur promised he would not rescue Ryan again. We made a plan. First, I took a court-approved DNA test after Noah was born. The verified result confirmed what I had always known. Ryan was Noah's biological father. Second, Arthur called an emergency board meeting. He did not tell Ryan why. He only said the family needed to discuss the future of the company and meet the baby. Third, I stayed silent. Ryan assumed my silence meant I was scared. His attorney sent another agreement demanding the house, my shares, and control over anything I said about our marriage. He also left a voicemail saying I would have nothing if I fought him. I saved that too. The meeting was held at Arthur's home 2 weeks after Noah was born. It was a bright, expensive room with tall windows and white curtains. I wore a simple cream blouse and sat on the sofa while Arthur held Noah. Dinas waited in the study with the company attorney and 2 board members. At exactly 10 o'clock, Ryan walked through the open front door, carrying a pale blue gift bag. He stopped when he saw us. For a second, he tried to smile. He said the gift was for the baby. Then he asked why I was there. Arthur told him the truth had arrived before he did. Ryan's face changed. I placed 3 folders on the coffee table. The first held the verified DNA result. The second held the evidence connecting him to the false report. The third held the Blue Ridge payments and the Lake Norman project. Ryan opened the first folder and barely looked at it. He said DNA tests could be wrong. Then I played his voicemail. The room filled with his own voice telling me that I would have nothing if I fought him. I watched him understand that he was no longer controlling the story. He turned to Arthur and said the business payments were temporary loans. Arthur asked why temporary loans needed fake invoices. Ryan said, everyone bent rules to protect a family company. Arthur answered that Ryan had not protected the family company. He had used it as his private bank. The company attorney and board members entered the room. Ryan was informed that he had been removed from every management position, locked out of company systems, and reported to the proper authorities for a full investigation. Arthur had also canceled the planned division sale. Then Arthur gave him the news that hurt him most. The board had appointed me interim chief operating officer. Ryan looked at me as if I had stolen something from him. That almost made me laugh. I had not forged a report. I had not moved company money. I had not abandoned my wife in labor. I had simply refused to disappear when he ordered me to. Denise handed him my divorce filing. I was asking for primary custody, child support under North Carolina law, and a fair division of our marital property. My 12% of the company had been earned and granted directly to me. It was never his to take. Ryan asked me to speak with him alone. I said no. That one word felt stronger than every angry speech I had imagined. The blue gift bag remained on the floor beside him. Before he left, it tipped over. A stuffed bear rolled onto the rug with a card that said, "From Dad." Ryan stared at the card for a long time. He had bought a public symbol of fatherhood on the same morning. He planned to destroy the child's mother. I picked up the bear after he was gone. I removed the card and placed the toy in a donation box. Noah would never need a gift purchased as part of a performance. The months that followed were not easy. Revenge stories often skip that part. There were depositions, sleepless nights, and mornings when I carried Noah into the office because his babysitter was sick. The company audit found more than $1 million in unauthorized transfers. Ryan's real estate project collapsed. He eventually signed a settlement that gave me primary custody and protected my shares and home. The business case continued without my help, because the evidence no longer depended on my word alone. I did not celebrate his downfall. I celebrated my freedom. Arthur stepped back from daily operations, but he did not disappear. Every Sunday, he came to my house with coffee and held Noah while I took a long shower or slept for an hour. He never asked me to forgive Ryan. He understood that being a grandfather was a privilege he had to earn through consistency. A year later, the board made my position permanent. I created new financial controls, replaced the silent people who had protected Ryan, and started a support program for employees returning from parental leave. On Noah's first birthday, Arthur gave me a small framed photograph. It showed the day of that meeting me on the sofa, Arthur holding Noah, and Ryan frozen in the doorway behind us. I almost threw it away. Then I looked closer. I was tired in the photograph, but I was not broken. My shoulders were straight. My eyes were calm. I looked like a woman who had finally stopped asking for permission to trust herself. So I kept it. Ryan once believed a false piece of paper could erase my child, my work, and my place in the world. In the end, the truth did not just prove that Noah belonged. It proved that I did too.